It is Monday, April 14th, 2025 at Protestia Studios, and this is an intelligence briefing coming to you from Protestia.com, where, as always, go to find the latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. Sign up for our insurgency email blast and support us with the rest of the insider supporters over at patreon.com/Protestia. Let's get into the headlines. First headline at Protestia.com: my utmost for his highest. Georgia pastor stars in weed-themed Easter promo. Some of you may have already seen this over on Protestia's X account. Gary Lamb, the lead pastor of Action Church. That's right, that's the title of the church, Action Church, the name of the church in Canton, Georgia, which, according to their About page, quote, exists to redefine your definition of church. Well, that sounds like something Christians should be involved in because, quote, we think it's a sin for church to be boring. Yes, I'm not making that up. That's actually on their website. Because they are a, quote, church of messed up, flawed people who believe talk is cheap, they focus on three main things, according to them. Quote, love God, love people, take action. Decades ago, Lamb founded Ridgestone Church, later named Revolution Church, which grew to over 1,000 people. He resigned from leadership in 2009 after, you guessed it, admitting to an affair with his assistant. Within a few months of the news, however, he announced that he was starting a new church, which became his current iteration. Not without controversies, he took some heat in 2018 after he proposed the idea that his church spearhead a needle exchange program where drug addicts can come to church to exchange tainted needles with clean ones. He's also known for his, quote, Give Canton the Bird campaign, which provides Thanksgiving turkeys for needy families, but also intentionally plays on the double entendre. Let's see this. This was actually a hat tip to, there was another X account that brought this to us, Steadfast Women, hat tip to that account. I don't know who it is, but that was a good find. Usually folks don't find these kind of things before we do. Let's watch in and see how bad this really is. I'm sure you can probably guess.
What's up, guys? Gary Lamb, lead pastor of Action Church in Canton, Georgia, and Easter Sunday is almost here. Did you realize that Easter Sunday is on 420 this year? Don't worry, we did. Got the munchies? We got a hot breakfast ready to be served at 9:15. Service starts at 10 o'clock. We'd love to have you as our personal guest on Easter Sunday at Action Church.
It's seriously like the dad joke of stupid church promotional videos. You can read more about it over at Protestia.com, of course, but suffice to say, we will not be joining Action, quote unquote, church on Easter Sunday. Let's move on. Next headline at Protestia.com. Oh, what do you know? It's the same guy. Pastor behind weed-themed Easter promo blasts critics in his Sunday sermon, saying we don't engage with religious a-holes. Yeah. The pastor behind the viral marijuana-themed Easter promo blasted his critics during his church service today. This was yesterday, of course, telling his congregants that, quote, we don't engage with religious bleep holes. Gary Lamb is the lead pastor. Well, you've heard all this from the prior story. We also have this tweet in there, and he's got I'm not going to put it on the screen, but you can see it in the article, a profanity-laced Facebook post to defend himself against his idiotic weed promo. Read more over at Protestia.com. We're moving on. Next headline at Protestia: a polemical expose, the Satanic cult that just tried to assassinate Trump. This written over at Protestia.com by J.D. Hall. A shocking plot to assassinate President Donald Trump was uncovered this week, sending ripples of alarm through the nation. Federal authorities arrested 17-year-old Nikita Kasap after discovering the bodies of his mother, Tatiana, 35, and stepfather, Donald Mayer, 51, during a welfare check. Kasap, who had been absent from school for 2 weeks, confessed to murdering his parents on February 11th, allegedly to secure the financial means and autonomy to carry out his sinister plan of assassinating President Donald Trump. Read the account of this over at Protestia.com. It is fascinating. We're moving on. Next headline at Protestia. The King of Kings makes $19 million at the box office and breaks a 27-year record. Angel Studios animated faith-based flick, The King of Kings, made bank at the box office this weekend, earning over $19 million and setting a record for the highest grossing debut of an animated faith-based film. Written and directed by Xiang-Ho Yang, and featuring the voices of Kenneth Branagh, Uma Thurman, Mark Hamill, Pierce Brosnan, Forrest Whitaker, Ben Kingsley, and Oscar Isaac. The film, quote, follows Charles Dickens, a young author who narrates the biography of Jesus Christ. You can read more about this over at protestia.com, but the film has apparently broken the largest weekend opening for a faith-based animation by taking the title, I guess Prince of Egypt in 1998 still made a little bit more when you adjust it for inflation going from 1998 up here to 2025. But you can read more about this over at protestia.com. Next headline at Protestia. President Trump shares Holy Week message. President Trump shared an Easter message that was markedly different than his 2024 missive, with the White House releasing a statement that was distinctly and expressly Christian in its orientation and theology. We have put the statement up over at Protestia. You can read it. And last year's message was a little bit more preoccupied, as you can see from the image here from Truth Social. This was last year's message. Happy Easter to all. And then he went on about crooked and corrupt prosecutors, judges doing everything possible to interfere with the presidential election of 2024, put him in prison. All that's very true, but it's not really an Easter message. So we're glad to see a much better Easter message focused on Easter itself rather than the election year politics that came out last Easter. Next headline at protestia.com. U.S. pastor abducted at gunpoint during church service in South Africa. Multiple men burst into a church service and kidnapped an American pastor at gunpoint last Thursday, according to statements from police and congregants. Pastor and missionary Josh Sullivan was leading a prayer meeting for around 30 people at Fellowship Baptist Church in Motherwell last week when multiple masked and armed men entered the church, brandishing weapons. The assailants stole several cell phones from congregants and led Sullivan away while his wife and 6 children looked on. This is obviously a very terrible thing. Witnesses say they addressed him by name, indicating they likely knew who he was, and it wasn't a random attack. Along with his missionary work, he was on staff at Fellowship, is on staff, I should say, or maybe isn't currently, but was on staff at Fellowship Baptist Church, a small independent Baptist church in Wartburg, Tennessee. The church did not address it much during their service yesterday, only briefly mentioning in passing that he needed prayer. More than 17,000 people are kidnapped each year in the country, which has been marked by extreme violence and political instability. Obviously, we are hoping and praying for his safe return, and we'll keep you updated as the story progresses. Next headline at protestia.com. North Carolina county lawyers asked judge to dismiss J.D. Greer's religious discrimination lawsuit against them. Weeks after the Summit Church filed a lawsuit against a local county, I'm assuming their local county for the main campus, accusing them of religious discrimination after they were denied the ability to rezone a property to build a new church for one of their 13 campuses. Lawyers for the county asked the court to dismiss the suit, saying that the defendants' actions, this is from the county, of course, trying to get Summit's lawsuit dismissed, defendants' actions and practices and policies of which plaintiffs complain have been based on legitimate and non-discriminatory reasons and have been necessary to the orderly, safe, and efficient operation of the county's business. Greer and his church have been trying to find land for their new campus for years and thought they had found the right parcel to purchase, but they were met with swift opposition. During public hearings, residents expressed their concerns and displeasure about the large church being in their community and its impact on traffic and the culture of the county, with officials calling Summit's plans, quote, antithetical to real rural character preservation. They also lamented that the property would limit taxes they could collect and the lack of high-paying jobs created by Summit that another organization using the space might otherwise provide. Summit Church actually filed a 700-plus page lawsuit against the county, alleging religious discrimination. We will see what happens with this motion by the plaintiffs, by the county, to try to get the lawsuit dismissed. Last headline for this episode issue of the intelligence briefing. Wife of Christian musician confronts street preacher outside her husband's concert. The wife of a prominent Christian recording artist confronted several street preachers who were preaching outside her husband's concert, challenging their message and their understanding of the need to share God's love. Trinity Joy Queen is this person, the wife of Josiah Queen, a Florida-based CCM artist who was just nominated for a Dove Award for 2024 New Artist of the Year. Earlier this month, in a story shared by church leaders, she uploaded a video of herself politely confronting a street preacher who was holding up a sign saying, "Warning, repent now before it's too late," with anti-porn, anti-LGBTQ, anti-drug, and anti-Catholic imagery, challenging him on his message and methods. In particular, she questioned whether he had ever led anyone to the Lord and how he was preaching before discussing the role of Jesus' love versus his wrath in presenting Jesus. So you can read about this over at protestia.com. There is a link to her Instagram here and see what you think for yourself. There's also a link to the Protestia or an embed of the Protestia X post that has the video of her confronting this person. That's going to do it for this episode of the Intelligence Briefing for Monday, the 14th of April, 2025. Stay tuned to protestia.com for all of your latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. We'll see you again next time. As always, Semper Reformanda.